Thank you, Dig Down Deep. I'm going to do it again. Today we're decompiling. Welcome to Made Up of Wires. I appreciate everybody who shows up and watches the stream and has fun going over decompilation with me. Today we're decompiling PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale with a big light glaring on it. What I was saying before is I have a hate-hate relationship with that game. I don't like the genre. I never could get into the Smash Brothers style of fighting game. That's just never made sense to me. And that's what that is. It's Sony's attempt at getting into that market. And then it was a cross-buy with the PS Vita version. And I didn't get this game like very late in its lifetime, but by the time I went to redeem the cross-buy, Sony said it was expired, but there's no expiration date on it. So anyway, not a good game, and it will probably be stuck on the PS3 and Vita. I do have a Vita copy of it, ironically, because I love the Vita and will buy anything that says PlayStation Vita on it. So what are we doing? We're not decompiling PlayStation All-Stars. Oh, this is kind of messed up. Let me see if I can fix that. No. Go to a different tab, maybe. There we go. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night, of course. You can go to soten.z.dev to learn more about the project. You'll find a link to source code on GitHub, as well as a link to Discord. I think at the beginning of the stream, we've been working on the reverse Castle Keep. We did the Castle Keep in July, and actually over the weekend I finished the reverse keep. It was likely one of the fastest stage overlays that I've done. I think it must be the fastest stage overlay that I've done, and it will go in. I think this is the second time that a stage overlay is going to go in completely decompiled, which is also pretty cool. So our top, or the reverse keep, was very similar, shared a lot of code with Castle Keep, and some of that I was able to pull out into common code. Some of it I wasn't. Let me find the source ST files. So Clock Tower, minimal changes necessary for Clock Tower. We have one section here. Basically, we have a lot of dimensions that are inverted. So the clock tower is upside down, so it needs upside down dimensions. This has been mentioned many times on this stream, but I'll mention it again for anybody who isn't familiar with how Symphony of the Night was written. Drawing code and behavioral code of entities in the game, enemies, basically anything you can interact with, it's all intertwined. And so we have, this is clouds. Do clouds have behavior? They have some animation, right? They're moving towards you. And I think there's two planes of them. But all that drawing logic, all that animation logic is just here in code. So you could change the sprite that's used as the texture for the clouds, but otherwise changing their behavior or changing where they are and how they draw. You have to change everything about them, basically. So fortunately, though, those were very similar. The clock tower itself, also very similar. Again, just dimensions changing between the two. There's a couple things I could do to change this. I could pull these out into constants. That might be a cleaner way to do this. But it's a trade-off. It's always a trade-off. Where does your indirection live, basically? What else is the same? The lion lamp. The lion lamp is identical. No changes necessary. From what I could tell, and maybe this is a PlayStation version issue, the lion lamp does not light up. And it actually, the second controller, we could try that, which might be interesting. The second controller can control the animation of the line lamp, so we could go in and do that, but we would have to muck with some memory as well, which wouldn't be the worst thing ever. There's the Richter fight trigger. I changed this a little bit just to get this matching. So there's a block when you are going into the Richter fight, and it exists in both Castle Keep and Reverse Keep, but it's not placed anywhere in Castle Keep. So a lot of this code is just reused. There's a trigger block before you get to the warp room. I'm not sure why. It seems like it changes a bunch of palettes, and I don't know if that's preloading or trying to preload palette data. It prints alive to the debug output, and we can see where that is. No, this is GitHub. I usually don't show GitHub. I usually do this in my just in Vim. But GitHub, I review my own code here. So when I'm about to send this out for a pull request, I'll go through because I find this pretty pleasant to read. What else is interesting? A lot of this code is the same as Castle Keep, but again, like dimensions are sprinkled in. There is some logic differences. So, for example, the stairs. I might have a save point actually. We could try to get in here into the Reverse Keep without having opened the stairs. And what should happen is the stairs are closed and you can open them. Whatever state they're in one, I believe that is transferred to the other. Breakable walls, those were pretty similar. Again, just dimensions changing. Triangle elevator, again, same thing, just dimensions changing. And it's enough sprinkled through the function that it was a lot of noise. There's also a lot of global references, and at least for now, it seemed like more work to duplicate them than not. If somebody came through and replaced all the global references with something with nice names, that might be easier to do. What else is in here? Anything fun? All the same duplicate code that's in every stage: collisions, create entity. E-breakables, interesting, and we could look at that as well if that's significantly different from top Castle Keep, between Castle Keep and Reverse Keep. It's possible that we could share that code. The way that breakable items work is oddly distinct in every stage. Not every stage. There are some stages that share the same logic, but there are a lot of stages as well that have their own logic. Clock tower, we looked at that already. That's the same. Collect, which is how you get items. Bunch of data. Lock camera, that also is very unique per stage for reasons I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it too closely. What else is interesting? The red door tiles are mostly the same. The Richter fight trigger, we looked at that already. Backgrounds. The jumping tombstone, we worked on that on the stream. All the Yorick code, which was nicely combined into a single file. The headers. What else is there? There was something else fun. Oh, now we're in the common code. Could share the lion lamp. And like I said, I couldn't get I'm not sure why the lion lamp doesn't animate or turn on in the Reverse Keep. There was one other area in here. Actually, the things that weren't done on the stream that I was working on were mostly things related to the stairs that were the same. and other things like that. So anyway, that is reverse top and reverse top, reverse keep. We're done with it. So there's a couple other things that I was working on. Some of them are kind of more open-ended, and I don't know where they're going to go yet. So we can look at that. And then maybe the Richter boss. So stay within this whole castle keep section. We could work on Richter. Yeah, top and reverse keep are done. Reverse keep I haven't submitted the PR yet for. We just went over all of that. But yeah, both of those are done. Maybe you know Mozilla of randomizer fame, of getting Maria to work on original hardware without with the original disc fame. Is there anything that triggers the lion lamps in the reverse keep, or are they always off? I'll go back there and look at. Okay, so Mozilla thinks they're always off. So we could look at the lamp animation and see. It's possible that the lamp animation is nothing. Let's look at that and see what that might be. We can compare those between top and our top. Oh, we do have frames here. So these are single byte indexes to an animation array. Yeah, so there is a lot of, not a lot, there are some logical differences between the castles besides just inverting dimensions as well. Let's find this in... And it definitely is possible that even the animation frames are the same, but if... I haven't pulled out the sprites for this yet. Yeah, those are the same, actually. I haven't pulled out the sprites. So it is possible that there's only one set of sprites and not an actual animation for our top. Anyway, that is our top. So let's look at the other thing. So Mozilla being here is actually apropos. So thinking about this would actually have made his Maria playable on original hardware. What's the right word? I don't want to say exploit. It's not an exploit, but you know, all that work. It would have made it much harder, and it's probably good that Zynamo didn't go down this path originally. Oh, the Magic Mirror preset. That's interesting. Oh, I have seen that before on one of DB Daily's streams, I think. And you get to the same room, right? Same, but inverted, of course. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, I have seen that preset. So I thought to myself, if you were going to actually integrate this in a way that made sense, could we... how much of the like user experience, for lack of a better term, how much of that could what's in this features be replicated? Oh, game features, that's right, because features is a GNU header file. So I thought what if we started breaking out some of these code differences into features? And so, for example, the PSP version would by default have playable Maria, the Maria boss fight, the different familiars that are there, but don't exist in the other versions. But then at compile time, we could enable or disable those as well. And so I started going through. So this is all as it is. It's compiling for both, but it's far from complete. And I would like a nicer debugger to keep doing this, but we can go to game handlers, which is where a lot of that logic happens. Let's do that better. And actually, if we look at the original code, I think it handled Maria. So here we have, no, maybe it didn't. Maybe I'm wrong. No, I'll get to that in a second. So if we have the feature playable Maria, we're gonna have this global, which is an array of all the unique character names. Some globals, don't worry about that. But then this is the section that looks at the save name to determine which player you're playing as. And so if we have playable Maria, we're going to go through this section and do that. I need to go find the Richter equivalent for PlayStation, because it's not right here. We have a few more places. Let's look at player Maria. So some of this code, if I remember correctly, it's been a week since I looked at it, so how could I be expected to remember something that long ago? Not playable Maria, player Maria. That's in the PSP. I almost thought that some of this was... No, that's PSP too. All right, so I was wrong. But enabling a bunch of this playable character Maria code, I think both would allow us to consolidate a bunch of places. So, for example, instead of version PSP, this would become has feature playable Maria, and then we could go through. Me too. And recompile the PlayStation version with the playable Maria feature, and you'd be able to put in Maria and load the Maria overlay, but still have access to the Richter overlay. So if for those who haven't followed the Maria on PlayStation mod that Zynomo did, it replaces the Richter overlay with Maria. And so when you type Richter to get Richter mode in the PlayStation version, you get the PSP version of Maria. So Modzilla has Maria and Richter in one. And how do you switch between the two? So I haven't posted this in Discord yet. This is the first time I'm kind of mentioning it publicly. Oh, interesting. And how do you what is the trigger for changing that table? So Modzilla, if the text is too small, Modzilla is saying that he puts both files on disk and then switches basically when you do the lookup for the file, which file you end up loading. Okay, so the rando knows which one you're playing as. That is definitely that is awesome. So this would change, I think, a little bit of how we start writing these different sections, there's definitely things that differ for PSP from like a development reason. For example, things that are functions that are either built-ins or macros on the PlayStation. So there's always going to be things like that that just are different. But then we have this, if we could pull out this common feature code and put that behind flags, it might make it easier to compile the things you like from some versions of the game and leave out the things that you don't like. Good to have you back, Modzilla. Always good to have you. Nate, good to see you as well. Back to Grandmaster status. So that is that's the feature work. We'll see if that goes anywhere. I did want to put in other compile time checks earlier, or compile time options that kind of again went along with the randomizer. But I think that was a little too early. That was maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 months ago. And a lot has changed since then. All right, so what else do I have going on in my branches? Some lints that I would like to finish off. A bunch of the BO4 code out. I'll take a look at that. I don't, yeah, let's stash that. So, BO4 we spent a long time working on. I don't even know what Sesame Designer is, but I hope it has to do with a certain street. I'm assuming it was quite a bit of data. And regravity well. Good to have you. So we're going to rebase this. Did I do that already? Yeah, I remember 30 seconds ago. Let's see if that still works. It does. We're going to try to build this and see if this is going to. A lot to rebuild here. So I mentioned this before. We did a lot of the code decompilation on stream for Doppelganger 10 and 40. But beyond just code, we have to eventually import all of the data as well. And that is, it's not as fun, I think. There's less problem solving and more just minutia. So I was working on doing that for BO4. And we will look at that one in at the terminal instead of in GitHub. Just look at the boss directory. Well, that's not good. Did I not? Is my rebase still in progress? Oh, that's right. I did not call this my fault. This is a different branch called Git BO4 cleanup. The web version of Excel doesn't support VBA? That seems like a big limitation. I think LOL is probably the best response to anything VBA in Excel. I've been using a Mac for so long that none of that ever mattered to me because it never worked on a Mac. All right, let's try this again. So going through, some of this is just general cleanup, making sure that things are right. But then it's importing a lot of data. Some of this data we have macros to kind of help with, but it is a lot of data. So animation frames, we actually have, I think certain assets can import that. But there's something wrong with, we have a new type for animation frame that hasn't existed previously. So certain assets doesn't work for something like that. I did all this manually. That was a pain. We'll get through this eventually. And then all those go into an array. Some of that is relatively easy to do with just text editor automation. So then, more of that. Let's go to certain assets. Why isn't assets found? There should be changes in assets as well. Anyway, it's a ton of data. And importing that, I got through most of it, which allows me to do a portable build as well. There is still one section that I wasn't able to finish, which is the doppelganger animation. It would be nice to get, and I guess some additional. This is 4K, a little under 4K, 3.5K worth of data to import. If I don't have to do that manually, that would be great. What was so like Access, like Microsoft Access? Good, double the streams. You're increasing my viewer count by like 20%. I only ever did a little bit with Access. At the start of my career, I worked with Crystal Reports, which is not the interactive at all. We did a bunch of Oracle stuff though, as well. I don't think I worked on the front end. I just worked on stored procedures. It was awful. It was really awful. Let's go with BO6. I'm going to rebase this and hopefully not break anything. All right, we're gonna grab BO6. Oh, I already have BO6. What is this madness? $350 different commits since the last time. Oh, I should just blow this branch away. It is not worth it. Or is it? I really have all those things? Okay, well. All right, this is gonna hurt. This hasn't been bad so far. Bad rebases make me sad. This file is deleted. So, I don't think we have the PlayStation makefile anymore. Yeah, that's gone. Oh wow, 350 commits, and that was the only issue. Let's build and see if it works. So BO6 is Richter. Richter is in Castle Keep, which is top, which we just finished a couple weeks ago. There should be a bunch of code that is duplicates of top. Anything related to any interactable things in the stage, because bosses are stages, and they're kind of condensed down into just the room that the boss fight is in. Sorry, Dick Dundee. What else? Can we talk about that's not Excel, Access, Crystal Reports, Oracle? All right, so we are building. It should be called bottom, or at least bot. They only use 3 letters. I'm guessing there's a lot of this sucks a little bit because current make config is probably better than when I imported this originally. I did this in April. We probably have better symbols now. I'm going to try to re-import this. So I'm going to get rid of everything that's Richter related. May screw up something, but I have everything committed, so I'm okay. So we're going to do tools, make config. And what I'm hoping for is better. It's just BO6, not Bobo6. Before I do this, I want to do one more thing. I want to make sure that I have all of my submodules updated, which they look like they are. All right, so let's do it again, BO6. Unlike the stages, which may have mnemonics related to them, the bosses don't. They're all just BO 1 through 8, 7, and 8 on the reverse side, RBO. Thanks for joining Dizzik on YouTube. Yeah, it's too bad about the Twitch, but maybe not too bad depending on how you look at things. But glad to be streaming on YouTube as well. All right, so this I re-imported BO6 because I wanted the symbols. We're gonna have different files now. It looks like I did a lot of the splits already. And so I need to I need to see what changed. There should have been a change for symbols. No, this is a bummer. I have to do it one more time. This time I'm going to do a git remove. So make config, when it comes through, does a git checkout. And so it overwrote my previous Splat config and symbols with what was already there. And I don't like that it does that. It would be nice if make config was idempotent so that you could rerun it again and it would add symbols that it's found since the last time. That could be a little problematic for other reasons. What we might run into here is some symbols that it found now, because it's better than it was back in April, that I don't have mapped. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know why what I was thinking of when I chose Bobo 6, but no, it didn't do that. There's no way that these files are unchanged. So I might have to make a commit where I delete these. Yeah. Okay. We'll try it again. This is hard. This was hard to test when I was doing a lot of the matching code. Oh, this is strange. I'm going to move the BO6 directory out of the way. Okay, now it's happy with me. This will be harder to do a git diff against, but that's fine. What is it upset about? What changes added to the commit? Oh, okay. Now let's try one more time to import this. And hopefully this regenerates those files now. So when I do the diffs, I'm going to have to do diffs on head -1, which is fine. I just have to remember to do it. I should have added, rat. I'm gonna run this one more time. I'm gonna do something else though. Make sure that, and that's in my Git history. I'm going to add we have a bunch of overlays that I think they're called reference overlays. I want to make sure top and rtop are here. Top is already there, which is good. We'll throw rtop in there as well. No, I don't have top. No, that's fine. I didn't need to cancel that. We have everything that we can have. All right. One more time. So back near the beginning of the summer, I guess May probably time period. So after I originally did this import, I wrote some tooling for basically this find matches across overlays stage. And I really need to start a second decomp project to use that on another project other than this. So what that does is we have all these ELF files that are getting generated from our compilation, and an ELF file is symbol names, segments, all that clearly delineated in a way that you can programmatically access that. And from that, I could look at the binaries and then scan binaries that we didn't know about for symbols. And it's very accurate and very fast. And it was solving a problem that we had with duplicates, where we have a couple functions that actually produce basically the same machine code, but they reference different things. And so duplicates was often mismatching the names, and that became confusing, and it was a pain to match. With this newer stuff, we get 111 matches without having to rely on fuzzy match. All right, so let's see what we have now. We have our symbols, and I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm not gonna check this part in. Why do we have all this? I don't know where all these allowed duplicated came from. All those we're going to delete. No, that's not what I wanted. Well, this is strange. Nothing is ever easy. I have to do it again. So, git reset. We have to get rid of all of our config. And then the problem was I had artifacts in the build. And I think those were getting pulled in to get symbols from. No. Oh, that belongs to the 06. I want to get rid of all that. Like I said, it's kind of a pain. Let's try it one more time. That may or may not have been what caused duplicates to take so long to run. Hey, Hassam. Hey, Flame. No problem. If there's anything specifically as well that people want to look at, happy to look at those areas as well. Lion Guru, yes, my name is a Nine Inch Nails reference. I am, so I think it was back around the April timeframe. During the stream, I was trying to get tickets to their current tour and failed miserably. And now I'm looking to get a last minute ticket when they come to my town. And hopefully I can do that. That would be great. Let's see if this worked. it worked, but not in the way that I was expecting. I honestly have no idea what's going on. This is so frustrating. All of the symbols from matching were not added to the file, only the ones from duplicates. What did it give me in BO6? So it gave me all the names, but then it did not put them in the symbol file. That is frustrating. Do it again. Oh, 2 nights in Brooklyn. That is awesome. So in 2018, there were 2 nights in a row here. And it was the second night. I went the first night and was just exhausted, and so didn't end up going the second night. And it was the first time that they had played Perfect Drug live, I think. And that was disappointing. But at the first show, they played Broken in its entirety from start to finish, minus the cover at the end. That was incredible. Now there's nothing. Okay, this sucks. All right, I'm gonna ignore any of that then. Yeah, so I've been to the Fragility tour back in 2000, and then when they toured with Soundgarden in LA, I saw them, it was awesome to see Soundgarden. And then the Cold and Black and Infinite tour, and hopefully I get to this one. And every time it's always the best, always the best. I'm just breaking things. All right, so I'm going to revert my last commit and get those files back and just not rely on matching. There's other ways that I can get the matching, but it looks like most of it has been done already. I'm kind of bummed that I couldn't get that to work, but that's okay. No, I can't boot to itself. Of course not. So let's make sure that all this is still working. Yeah, so far I think the Tron stuff sounds pretty good as well. So excited to have a new album. Good year for Nine Inch Nails fans. So we're running into a duplicate symbol issue. I don't remember the state of this branch. It may be worthwhile to just nuke this branch and start over. Obviously, I did put some work into it, but none of this So I did the splits, but none of it is finished yet. And where are these? I think what's happening, let's go back to that create entity file. Is there RO data coming in? No. I think what's happening is RO data is being pulled in two different ways. That's what it looks like to me. Let's see if that's the case. I might not have mapped. Yeah, I didn't map RO data. So it would be better to start over, possibly. RO data, the way that it works, it has to be associated with, well, the way that it works now, it has to be associated with each file. I could do this. This might actually work. So when we say migrate RO data to functions, that means if a function has something like a jump table, which would normally go in the RO data segment, we will, when that gets exported as assembly or disassembled, we'll put the jump table right there next to it. This is so frustrating, though. I'm not sure how this worked before. How did I build this? Because this isn't this the same as... So we have a few different names. Sorry, this is frustrating. We'll move on to something else for now. I do want to revert this branch, though, because it was working before. I'm going to revert to this commit. Let's see if I have git revert. Can't I force this? Oh, I didn't want that. Let's do this. Let's hit rebase head now 2. We'll go all the way back to 3. We're going to drop and drop. And then we're going to build. And we'll see if this builds. And that built fine. I have no idea what was going on. Anyway, we're building, and that's actually what we need. Let's see how much assembly we have here. All of it, because I haven't deduped anything yet. How many of these are matched? There's a bunch in here that hasn't been matched yet. And unfortunately, that is going to be, actually US may not be relevant. So let's look at the splat config. RO data is still a problem. We don't have that as much of the problem anymore. Eventually I'll have to come through and make sure RO data is associated with each of these segments. We don't have a US file anymore, so I can get rid of that file. And that should build fine. US underscore things like this. This is what is there. So let's look at one of those. So that's entity lock camera. We can name that. So we splat to set up all of our segments and say where they're breaking or what functions they break on. We do that by address. This function, entity lock camera, usually goes into a file called elock camera. So I'm going to move that there, and then in the splat config, I'm going to change the name to elock camera. And I should be able to build, and that should all work as expected. So it only rebuilds things related to this Richter boss fight. So we have another one, cutscene. So at least until scale avatar, we have, it looks like cutscene. We usually name that cutscene.c. There is a cutscene in top. I want to see what function it ends on. We call the function that ends on entity cutscene. So one function basically after scale cutscene. So everything after this, let's look and see if there's other references to these functions. AFC0. We're looking at the assembly directly to see where those might be. Troubling. Did I miss something? I did. I missed the 8. So this is referenced from, I might have gone through this exercise already. So we're looking at the FCO function. What is it referenced by? It's called by this 5F4 function and 944. 5F4 is down here, and so is 944. So we know that those are associated with each other. Let's look at those functions and see what they're associated with. We kind of go through this chain, try to find the calling patterns for these functions, how they're related. And that will tell us then if this file is split logically or not. So this is an entity. Looks like it exists on its own. So I'm okay with that. Let's look at the other one. This is an entity as well. So it looks like that 8FCO function is the start of a new file. We can try to get some of that from Splat as well, and Splat might actually tell us. Oh, I did the wrong one there. There we go. That exists on its own. That looks like an unused file. It's possible, because I don't have the dupes report, it's possible that some of this is just leftover code from Castle Keep, because it is in the Richter cutscene. But I do think that we do have a file split here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to rename this to be cutscene. And then I'm going to make a new file right after cutscene. And because we don't have any RO data, I can do this pretty easily. the offset in the file is going to be at 28fc0. That's the function name, the number in the function name, this 801A, minus 8018,000, tens of thousands, however you want to say it. And this will be a new C file. And the convention I was using, which I don't like, was to say US underscore. I'm just going to use the auto-generated name, which will be 28FCO. I'm going to grab all those, include ASMs, move them up there. And now, one day when somebody comes back and works on... Oh, did I paste this again by accident? No, I think it's fine. When somebody comes back in to work on the cutscene, all of the normal cutscene related things will be there. So we'll need to add this file, and we'll build again. And what I'm trying to do is basically narrow down what is unique in this overlay, because if it's not unique, I likely can just import a header and have all the right files. Check collider offsets, entity, all this stuff. This is all part of other headers. Other common code. This needs to be split. I don't remember where the boundaries are, unfortunately. We'll look for that in USST. I'll look for it in RTOP because I know... Oh, we don't... It should be in top. Oh, we don't have the symbols. We don't have the symbols. So let's look at source ST. Let's look at those header files. So it's an E miscellaneous. And let's look at what E miscellaneous ends on. No, that's not what I want. We already have an E miscellaneous. It might be emis2. So check collider offset. So this is wrong though. 30D. Our miscellaneous starting point here, I think, is wrong. Entity relic orb and things like that. That should be... I can't remember. E-collect. So I have to rename this one. Unfortunately, I have an e-collect already. Drat. Looks like I just have the split at the wrong place. But yeah, this does go through entity message box, so it looks like all of these should be. And if you're paying close attention, you'll realize that I made a fatal error. And if I clean at any point, this will not build. And that is because I didn't update the include ASM paths. Now I've confused myself. What changes did I make here? Too many changes. Looks like miscellaneous is still there. Oh, this is strange. This is strange. Okay, so I wasn't completely dumb when I did this. Easier to fix the splat config and then export again. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, because these are that's actually not the worst idea at all. What happened here though is, and I need to see if this exists elsewhere. I named this E miscellaneous, but that's not really the right name for it. E miscellaneous should be at yeah, I have some leeway here because I'm not exporting RO data, so I can be pretty loosey goosey with how I do this at the moment. So this, I believe, in its entirety should be E miscellaneous. What I have listed as E miscellaneous is actually not something I'm familiar with. And do we still have match files in here? I could build match files and try to rematch manually. Let's try that. So no, I want see if I remember how to use my own tool. So I think we'll take we'll start with top. And let's put that in build US. Okay, so this is a fingerprint. That's what I call it. You can call it whatever you want. Of ST top, and basically it's going to go through all the segments, list all of the functions within those, give them a hash and a size, and then we can come back through and scan for that fingerprint, and we're going to scan the B06 binary, and that may or may not give us a better I want that file, and then I want build US, no, not build, disks US boss B06.bin. Yeah, okay. So let's open a new file with that. Oh, come on. I can Vim sometimes. So this has E miscellaneous at 30D80, and that's what I was saying. 30D, no, I wasn't. 30D80. Yes, that's what I was saying, is E miscellaneous should be here. Did it match anything at 2FC38? I don't think it's going to. No. There's other fingerprints that I can do from other stages, and that's what we do when we're doing the make config, is to fingerprint as much as possible, and then if there's a segment that matches somewhere. So I'm going to move this E miscellaneous. I'm going to call it ecollect2. Dizik, if I'm pronouncing your handle correctly, is suggesting maybe these are merge. I know that it's actually possibly suggesting something else. We have a common segment that we call emisc that has a bunch of things in it. So I'm pretty sure that everything that's in 30D80 is should be called emiscellaneous to keep with our convention. The thing that I called emisc originally is usually part of eCollect 2, or sorry, eCollect, entity collect, things that you collect in a stage. What did I do? That's not what I wanted. I wanted to do a git move. What it seems like, and we discover this, the more overlays that we do, we discover that there's actually splits at places that we didn't expect or that don't follow the convention of other things. And by splitting eCollect into these two, even though every other stage has these three functions at the end of eCollect, in this case, that's not where they are. And so it's probably its own thing. And every other stage should have it as its own thing as well. And we need to add a new segment to every other stage. And that's going to be a pain. But it probably is the right thing to do. So if we look at what every other stage does for eCollect, get down to the functions somewhere. All this data. Normally we get to just import this. So it starts with prize drop fall. And that's what, again, that's what our current eCollect does. But then ends with entity message box. And so entity heart drop is going to be the function above, and entity relic orb is going to be the function above. And I think relic orb is quite the thing. Oh, I should have jumped to the matching. There we go. It's there. So what I'm suggesting or saying is that these three functions at the end should probably be in their own file. And that file then is importable as a separate segment. And it just hasn't happened before. The files didn't get compiled that way in any other overlay. Let's make sure that I did this correctly. I did, so that's good. All right, so now we can rename 30D8. And that emisc goes down to get side to player. No, that's st common. Never mind. Orlock's rule. So not too far. The collision, a lot of this is weird. That's in emiscellaneous too. Bizarre. I'm not going to split these right now. But it does look like, actually, why not? Let's do it. I do want to look at the common emisc. We do have actually some overlays have a emisc too. Check collider offsets. That's where we started. Is it really only those 8 functions? That goes down to play positional. This is another one. Play positional sound effects is way at the bottom. Probably a different overlay. This sucks. So there's 2 options for importing the Richter fight. Either I say screw shared code and just duplicate it in this overlay, or I refactor a lot. Man, what a bummer. And maybe that's why I did not split it before. So in this case, let's look at the common ecollect and see. Clut lerp is not in there. I don't know what lerp stands for, but clut is color lookup table. That's in E miscellaneous. Probably these unknown recursive primitive functions, yeah. Big red fireball, okay. It is possible that this is a slight variant of emus. No, it's there too. Okay, so what am I? But it exists in Lect as well. I'm going crazy. No, I'm just wrong. I'm just wrong. Oh, this is even worse. This is worse than I. So this was split. So we have about 20 functions with spaces. Okay, maybe 18. That makes sense. So what happened here, and what I did to myself by using the old import with the fuzzy matcher, this is one of those cases where we get the wrong names for things. So this match with MIPS match has accurate names, and this does not. So yeah, I'm gonna have to come back through and rename those. Bummer, it sucks, but that's the important part is this is all code that exists elsewhere, and so I don't have to do don't have to worry about decompiling it. Really, we want though, what do we have to decompile? That's why we're here. What do we have to get? That's new and exciting. It has never been seen before. And this may be it. So none of these matched any existing symbols. There is a lot of them. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of them. So about 100 functions. Warp background brightness. So we have some matches to existing functions, some empty functions. Let's see. Let's go and see if that's a 39144. The last, so none of this matched anything that was in top. I could create a fingerprint for BO4. Let's do that as well. And the reason for doing that is it's a boss, and so there may be common boss code that can be matched as well. We haven't done a lot of bosses. So before Doppelganger 10 and 40, Medusa was done, and then the Maria cutscene in the clock room. And then when we run scan again, we can include all of the YAMLs we want. We may get something else. So really 9144 is what I'm looking for, and that hasn't matched either. Nothing in the 39s. So I have eLife up. Let me see what's immediately after this. Prim helpers. So we're looking for everything after prim helpers. So 4D. A lot of code. This is going to be a long one. So your prim helpers, nothing after that, or nothing before that. All right. So I know Doppelganger, for example, is like a several thousand line file. It probably should be split into different things, but they're all functions related to how Doppelganger behaves. And so it's a little hard to. So this is likely the Richter entities. And what I like to do is go look at all of those files. So we're going to be non-matching files. None of these have been decompiled yet. We're going to go into, there's a directory created for each of these that has the disassembled output. I like using find. So I want files name.s. The way that this is split now is going to be more of a pain because I don't have RO data associated with these, but we'll get through it. I'm going to use ls, and then I use awk to extract the size and name, and then sort by numerically and in reverse. And apparently I put a comma somewhere. Oh, I missed print. That's why. So we have things that are relatively small and things that are gigantic. So this is the main. This is going to be the main logic for Richter, how he behaves, what he does. Because this is Richter, actually, I should be looking at the Richter fingerprint. I didn't even think of doing that. We found a ton of Alucard code in the Doppelganger bosses. So it's likely that there is a lot of Richter code. What am I trying to do here? Yes, it does. That's a good point. Does Splat suggest additional split points? It definitely does. And we'll look at that as well. That's a good call out. The way that it's wrapped in our build system at the moment, its output is suppressed. I don't like that. Okay, we'll get the Richter fingerprint and then add that one here as well. So we want st top. And so the way MIPS match will try to match these is to find the largest segments in any of these. If a segment is in all of these fingerprints, it'll try to choose names that are used the most for functions and for segments. And it failed. Because this isn't a real file. It doesn't have good error messages. So again, we're going to look for things in the 3.9. So we did get some. So PL sub weapon dummy. This is again a segment that we should probably pull in. And then for unfortunately, nothing really else. It does have a mode as well that'll just find functions as opposed to entire segments. Or it can do that. And that would be useful right about now, but I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. So let's pull a function out though, and actually, let me get back to that comment. So Splat will suggest file splits, and it does that by looking at how functions are aligned. So if a function is being compiled in one compilation unit or .o file, usually it will align those. I think on what is it? 16-byte boundaries, 8-byte boundaries. Oh, it says subalign 4, but that doesn't seem right because instructions are already 4 bytes. But maybe this is a multiple of 4, so 16 bytes. That would seem more obvious to me. So if that alignment isn't on those boundaries, it looks like what happened was the code from one .o file was taken until its end, and then the code from another .o file was shoved right at the end of it without any of that padding. And that's how Splat figures that out. So let's do that. Let's run Splat and see what it is. So this is nice. Splat comes in and says, here's all your RO data. And it tells us what segments it's likely part of as well. Let's grab that. That's useful to have. We'll need that eventually anyway. And we should really integrate that into make config. I have a poor implementation right now of a RO data finder in MIPS match. It doesn't work very well. And so I need something better. Let's build and make sure that this is working. If this is working, what I'm going to do is go back and take this comment and slowly name these things. Oh, hold on. This isn't what I wanted. Tmux. Too many tools. So usually what I do is I'll take something like this and paste it in here. And so now we kind of have to go through and align all of these. So when we see A here, we need to think 2, so 263DO. That's going to be red door. And Splat, actually, this is much better than I remember it being. We don't have a US file anymore. That has become... right? Oh yeah, cutscene. A4 is 28 FCO. A4 368 243. Sorry, 24 26438. So 24638 is going to be right about here. So ecollect is am I reading that right? 26. There's some data kind of in between these other RO data segments that needs to get split as well. When the alignment makes sense, Splat doesn't always recognize it. And that's okay. I'm going to work from the bottom. I like going from one end to the other and trying to meet in the middle. It's less confusing for my brain. So it might be seem like flipping around, but that's what I do. This 39. This is 3A168. Sorry. 2618. 26C18. There we go. I can do this. I can splat. These won't make any difference at the moment, but if we turn on So here's the issue. When we suppress our splat output, this will tell us exactly what I did wrong and stupidly. But we are suppressing that. I don't want the RO data migration feature to work, but I will trust you, Splat. I don't think this is going to work. And all of these are going to want the same thing. I'm not going to be able to enable this right now anyway. So that worked. I'm going to get compile errors though, and so it's going to end up being an issue. But let's keep going. 2 6 4 F O. That looks like it is US 34 BD 0. Six 4 BC. Not actually doing any decompiling, we're just splitting files. Two 6 4 8 0, so we don't have one there. And then 2 6 4 3 8. All right. And how badly is this going to fail? It's going to fail big time. But it might allow us to enable RO data migration. Yeah. So none of these exist. The RO data says look in the assembly file for the data. Kind of in a roundabout way. It puts the RO data into the disassembled file. Then when it compiles that through the C file, which includes the assembly file, it goes into the correct segment. So we need to also add up here we'll grab it from BO4. I want you. We need this migrate RO data to functions option. Oh, we already have that option. All right, so let's figure out what's going on. There's only a few of them, which isn't too bad. So we have probably a couple things that are happening. Let's do this actually. We're going to find where these files are, and we are just going to delete them and have them regen. Is there any... There's actually no issue having it regenerate most of these. It's just a pain because then I have to go through and we use a different path structure than Splat does in our include ASM. So you have to go fix all the paths, which is not ideal as well. So let's look at where these are. 64A8. So that's going to be ecollect2. We'll see if any of this works, or if I'm just making a mess. Boss VO6. Ecollect2. Oh, duh. When I said I'm screwing myself over, that has come to pass. I have screwed myself over. I didn't go and update the references in each of these files when I was making them. So this is still looking in E miscellaneous. And that doesn't exist anymore with the correct output. And Splat doesn't know that. So this should fix some of them. Should have far fewer than we did before. Well, we have fewer. And I need to think about, I need to think about what I've done. I need to find other cases where include ASM does not match. The file name. Fortunately, I think a git diff will help us. So anytime that there is a file, so there probably is a file with a bunch of these 2742s in it. No, that one's actually fine. Did I fix them all? No, that can't be. Oh yeah, so cutscene is totally broke. That's where the problem is. Not as bad as I thought. Okay, let's try it one more time. Touch the Splat config. Regenerate all the things, hopefully. No, still broken. Let's find where these are. And what's using them. It's likely that there's some RO data that's not assigned to the right file. This is what I didn't want to get into, and was happy that RO data wasn't associated with one of these, but this is the bed that I am now lying in. So this should be part of Red Door. 6430. All right, so what I'm going to do is basically anytime I find a file with a error like this, I'm going to delete it. And the reason I'm deleting it is because I will have Splat regenerate it. And it'll generate the RO data lines for me. But then I have to go fix it as well. Back to split. So when this regenerates the file, it's going to put in one additional thing that we don't want. So Splat, a lot of the idioms and a lot of the design decisions are really around single file games. And so it can be used for PlayStation games that have lots of files like this, but it was built originally for N64 games where there's one ROM, and we have 60 ROMs. And so it doesn't expect you... Oh, and then we have different versions of the game too, each with... PSP has, I think, 120 ROMs. So we don't like putting things in this very deep path. We just prefix them with the path that it would be in source or in the game on the disk. And here's the RO data that we were missing. All that RO data. Oh, and somehow I got a G in there. Get rid of that G. Okay, so that did get rid of a bunch. And we just have to go through and find the other ones. So we use shorter path, and that makes it easier to hopefully be able to import on multiple for multiple versions of the game as well. In practice, it doesn't always work out that way, but that's kind of the idea. So this looks like I might have to clean to figure out which one it really should be associated with. should either be entity relic orb or oh yeah, emisc is gone, so let's regenerate ecollect 2. So we're gonna delete that file, split, regen that file, load the new one, do the same cleanup. When we run make config, we do all this automatically. Do I need to? Let's try. Did I really only get rid of one thing? Did I even get rid of one thing? Possibly not. The joys of figuring out things. This looks like it is part of 2.8 FCO. This didn't change at all. What's wrong with your OBS, Nate? Do you race with other people in the rando group in Long Library? I think we're getting closer. We'll get this building yet. And what's nice, once this is fixed, I didn't want to do this fixing now because it's kind of boring. But once this is fixed, it should make importing other things easier. Finding the RO data splits, I find to be the worst part of importing a new overlay. I didn't grab that one though. I'm gonna clean, and sorry, but this is gonna. So when you change segments, when you change splits, it doesn't delete the previous whatever files it generated previously. It might overwrite those files, but in this case, when you're moving segments, there are things that may exist elsewhere. What it seems like possibly is happening, some of those old splits still exist and they reference symbols now that can't be linked. This is a little better. So elock camera, looks like there's probably some RO data there. That's a relatively long function, so most definitely a jump table, I would think. We'll see if we get some RO data. No RO data there. So still missing some stuff. There probably are. I'm probably not mapping this correctly yet. So we need to make sure this 80 FDC is associated with ecollect 2. So that is a no 0F. That's not going to be in RO data. Oh, in function. Duh. So that's data referencing RO data. So we need A6470. It's a string. There's string tables for some of the display, I think, is what's happening here. Maybe debug information. 26470. And that's all it was this should be 16 bytes earlier. If this works, I'm going to be very... Oh, no, didn't work. So this RO data, let's do this, ecollect2. It may have to be imported separately. Source, loss, VO6. Always gotta have, get new muscle memory. We're gonna do the same thing here, remove it, have Splat regenerate it. Yes, and now we have our RO data that was missing. And one more done. So we have a jump table that's missing. Oh, screen froze. Oh no. Oh yeah. Thank you. Occasionally OBS does stuff like that. So last one, I think, I hope. One more of these files that we need to find. This one's eStage name. Okay, so this is associated with the wrong. So we have a RO data that's part of 264DC. This should be in ecollect2. What? 264DC. So stage name does not have RO data then. This goes to F0, okay. So that was just wrong. So this will, it's a jump table, so that'll automatically get stuck into the assembly. This will be nice when decompiling happens because all the jump tables will be there. No, stop it. Stop it. So it seems like the stage name code is referencing this, so they must be in the same segment then? Not in different segments? But that would pull in all of this. Oy. How is it referencing a label? Let's find out where that label is. Yeah, that should be part of stage name. I agree. Oh, let's go back. Undo that. All right. Thanks, chat, for putting up with all that. Now we have most of the RO data mapped. That's good. So we still have blit char right in the middle of ecollect. Still strange. If we look at, we don't have blit char here. Maybe that was an old split. That could have been something that existed before and doesn't exist anymore. And so maybe all of my moaning about how eCollect should be separate, blah, 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 is just that, moaning. Yeah, it is there. So I'm completely wrong. eCollect should go all the way through Blitchar and eCollect 2. The fact, though, that Blitchar is included down here for the US version of the game, but it's included up here for PSP, that's another indication that that should be a separate segment. And so I do think it needs to be refactored. So I'm going to stick with that. Yeah, let's celebrate now. Let's do that. I can celebrate somehow. There we go. Party, throw a little party. So I do want to separate out Blitchar. That's going to be a pain. We have what, like 15 overlays? No, maybe more than that. 20 overlays done. So it's changing every one of those other overlays to split these out like this. But now we can get back to what I wanted to do originally, which was look at 3914. Just to show you where we were. So what we have now, a bunch of segments added, quite a few, 15-ish. And I'm still in stage mode, so I keep typing ST when I need boss. But now we're here. And now we can look for a function. I don't have much time. I'm way over time, actually. So we're just going to choose something simple. We'll choose a real small one. Small doesn't mean easy. Big doesn't mean hard. But hopefully 800 bytes is something I can get through relatively quickly. If there's not a lot of branching and other things like that, it's possible even that re-render. That this could decompile itself. We'll see. And it's possible that we run into 800 bytes is too easy. You don't get to see that. Look at how easy. Oh, it's you didn't see it anyway. Frozen screen. This one is just setting some variables. M2C did it by itself. That's not exciting. Anybody can decompile that. Let's go to 2K bytes. 2K25. Soten edition. So we have a little loop here. A variable that we don't know what it is because it's being assigned to a global that we don't know what it is. Args, we don't know what those are necessarily, but they look like signed 16s. If so var_v1 actually is going to be an entity. Oh, we do know what this is. We know what this is because it doesn't have d_us, it's part of either main or DRA. I think this is actually in main. These are symbols that are exported from main and used in the overlays, and this is part of the entity table. So we need to figure out where the entity table starts, subtract that value from this value, and then divide by BC to see what our index is. And we get that from symbols.us.text. I really do want to replace this. I think this should be auto-generated instead of a static file. Yes, if it's incremented by BC. So Where is it incremented by BC? Down here on line 34. The way that you can be relatively certain that, I shouldn't say relatively certain, you can usually tell the size of the elements of an array by what is being incremented. So often we'll see 1, which is a byte, 2, which is a 16-bit, a short, signed or unsigned. You don't know that necessarily. If it's +4, it's a 32-bit value. And then if it's a wacky value, it's a struct of some kind. And BC happens to be unique enough that I know that entities are size BC. If we looked at this on... No, that's not true. I was going to say if we look at it on the PSP, it's going to be C0, but I'm thinking of primitives. Primitives have an extra 4 bytes on the PSP. All right, so we get our starting address here. And I can show the calculator, but the math doesn't change. It's this value, 80077B08, minus that other entity value, which gives us a value of 4730, and then I divide that by BC, and that's 60. So up here, so we know that varv1 is an entity pointer, and we're not going to need that global, which is nice. We go to G entities, and we're at offset 60. That should get us... It's not getting us close to compiling. What I'm going to do is this. This is going to fake M2C into believing that that's where the array starts. It will figure out that it's an entity then, and hopefully provide all the right offsets, but it didn't, of course, because it hates me. So we know that this is offset 60 in entities, and it's a reference to that. We have a loop, and where does our loop go? All the way to the bottom. And what is our increment? I don't know yet. Looks like var A3 is our I. Make an I. So we're incrementing 32 of some things. It's hard to know what this function is until we go through and either play the game to figure out what it is. M2C has, this is another thing that is nice. It's a nice bug in M2C. M2C knows that this was an entity pointer, and it should know that pointer arithmetic always, when you increment by 1, it's actually incrementing by the size of the thing being pointed to. So this should actually be +=1 in pointer arithmetic, but it always puts the computed value. It would be nice to see that fixed, but because it put a BC there, I knew what the type was, so it's a nice bug to have. So I don't know. I mentioned already var A3, I think that's I, and I is going to get incremented in our loop. And I'm still broken. I tend to do this, and it's really a bad habit. I really need to get things compiling before I... I caught that one. Capture is stopped again. I really need to get this compiling before I do anything else. The issue is we have this unknown 8a. That's taking the previous entity. There may be a variable for this. We'll have to see. And our entity size was 8c, so we subtract 8a. And so that's 2. I happen to know what field that is. Pos x I high. And now we're compiling. 50% is not good. Definitely not great. varv1, we're going to call entity. still? Yeah, when OBS does this, it tends to just keep happening. So I apologize in advance. It may be an issue. Um, so I'm going to try to do the right thing here. I may have already screwed up and removed some of the logic. So this is always a pain. GCC optimizer is coming through for this var v0, and it's trying to really, really optimize the result of this condition. And so it knows var a2 and arg1's not changing, but var a2 is, depending on what's happening here. And so it's computing what the result of this expression is up here, assuming that it's not going to take this branch and it's going to fall right down to that expression. But then if you hit this branch, it does change what that value is. And so it has to recompute it. And it does that by jumping to this block 6. And block 6, I don't know. Oh, block 6 didn't compute the value of that. So it has to do that anyway. That's a long-winded way of saying that this is var a2 greater than arg1. Maybe less than. We'll see. It was equals 0. Yeah. I guess greater or equals 2. And so then all of these var v0 underscore 2s, all of those get to go away. And GCC will generate those for us. Does the game run at all yet? What do you mean by it certainly runs on original hardware. But I'm assuming that you mean, does it run on like PC, for example? And the answer to that is no. There are some things that are compiled and are portable. And it is, so we have a build where as things get complete, we can put those files in there, and then they will build in a way that ensures that they're portable. We're getting worse, by the way. We started at 55, we're down to 50.47. Oh, this is gross. This is going to be a condition down here. Basically, if var t0 equals 0, var v0 is either going to be -1 or 1. And the optimizer just likes to make that code gross. So no, there's a bunch that has to be done before any of that can happen. Before it's runnable on, say, PC. So even the port to Xbox and the port to PSP, the game is still written for the PlayStation. And so on the PSP, that was one of the things that I considered doing today, actually, was working on, there's a file called ps. Is it .bin? I don't remember the extension. Let's look. Oh, I know you exist. You're in there somewhere. Oh, maybe it's capital PS. Yeah, ps.elf. And actually, I wanted to look at Splat's ability. Of course, it's not updating OBS. So in this file is where we see ps.elf, playstation.elf. We see the implementation of the PlayStation SDK for the PSP. So to have the game playable, we need a PlayStation compatibility library, which may or may not be straightforward to create. All right, so this is kind of an interesting. This isn't the way that I program, but I can't rely on the way I program. All right, 3, I think we got rid of all those here. I have to think of how the person programming this would program. I should actually look at Richter to see if there's anything similar to this so far, but these are all, I think, these are all initialized in the for loop. And the reason I think that is because of the order that G entities is read, and that only moved it down 1. So maybe not then. This could be that we're pulling out G entities and we're adding a plus I here, -1. No, we'll do plus I. And G entities is still pulled up and cached. That's unfortunate too. Let's try one more thing. Let's go to G entities and do 60 plus I -1 here. And then the other place that entity is used is down here. Gross. And this will be 60 plus I. And get rid of my extra parens. And here it would be 60 plus I. And then we're going to assume that GCC is going to optimize here. And that's a little closer, actually. We have the C 210C thing going on there, but that's not bad. And what that means is we don't necessarily have a separate entity variable. And so we can get rid of a bunch of that as well. And it generates the plus BC for us. It might be some variation of that. Yeah, that could be as well. So Dizik is saying it could be done that way, and then the entity plus plus is actually up in the for loop as well, and that would make a lot of sense. And that does happen quite a bit. So let's try doing that. Let's do entity. Let's assign it up here. The easiest way for us to discover what this is. And do we screw anything else up in the process? Probably. Pause X and something not a struct or union. What did I do? Oh yeah, it's a pointer. Yeah, it still unfortunately puts that up. So the load from memory takes X number of cycles, and so GCC will run other stuff, and you can't read. So we can see it thinks that it takes at least 4 cycles to get back from memory. So we won't see a read from that until 4 cycles later. What can we do about this? What I really would like to do is find the PSP version. Unfortunately, there's nothing really unique about this. varv 0 is never being... Oh, it is being set, yeah. I think that these are returns. But maybe not. Maybe it does go through all of them. I think if it hits a -1 case, though, that it would terminate. Let's look at the code. So we have our load here that's out of order. Not a big deal. Our entity +1 and then going to pos xi high. That's getting our -8a. Oh, -8a. I'm totally off. I did -ba. BC minus 8a is 32. So I don't remember the offsets of all the fields in entity. Unfortunately, I don't need to. Entity room index. Interesting. There's only one room here. That gives us the right value there. Now we have 8a in both places. The -1 here is what I think is happening. No, is this var a2? It's incrementing this var a2. Yes. Here it's optimistically doing the increment, assuming that these conditions aren't going to be true. And if they are true, then it needs to decrement. var v0 can't be 1. There was a check, so Dizek saying, negative var equals 0. Yes, you're right. You are right. And that makes sense. And so where is the assignment 0? Possibly we're assigning 0 here and then setting. So I'm missing something somewhere and I need to go back and find it. Let's look at the decomp. Unfortunately, it's spaghetti. So we have this var v2, which is our condition here. And is where we're. So if it does not equal 0, so var a2 being less than arg1 is going to cause a break. And at that point, we want var v0 to be -1. And so we still have var v0 -1. This is optimizing our increment of I and our entity increment. I missed this var a3. Yeah, I accidentally got rid of that. Oh no, this is our 20. So what are we resetting var v0? Var t0? Yes, okay. So var t0 is +1. If we were 0, reset. Let's look at what this looks like. One of the reasons I say short doesn't mean easy. A lot of times these short functions, they're very terse and they do what they do very well. A break like this might be return -1. And that's going to generate slightly different code. Is that going to give me the... So it's actually the opposite side of this this branch that is returning. And so I'm going to... I want the branch equals 0, or yeah, branch if equal to 0, but I'm not getting it. There may or may not be something else going on. We'll figure that out in a little bit. You can see from the line numbers that a lot of this is happening out of order. So line 11 is our loop. What I was saying before is we're doing the increment and everything kind of interleaved with all this because there's in this case there's not memory loads. I'm not sure what advantage there is to doing that early. I am doing the entity plus plus above though, so that is not necessary. So really it's the var t0 check. And is that just the initial value? Yeah, so I think this might be much simpler than... So what we're doing is counting things in the same room from entity 60 through entity... sorry, this is even wrong. This should be hex 60. And that's not going to change how it compiles, though. We do have a sign less than equal. There we go. We got that now. There's one more check that I'm missing. Maybe... No, we need a -1 at the end. Like this, maybe? But not quite. Sign less than immediate 1. What is this? What are we comparing? E0? A3. A3 is our +1. A3 is I. But T0 is T0. I can't be less than T0. But it can be greater than T0. Yes. Sign less than immediate unsigned. So on GCC, sometimes that can be hard to force. We can try making this a... but it is an immediate value. So it's T0, I see. If T0 is less than 1, how about that? Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you for making me think about it. We're almost done. Good to have you roaming. So really the only thing we have left is why is G entities being loaded so late? So I'm going to try pretty much the same tricks that I tried earlier. We don't have all of the registers correct yet, but possibly when we get this in to the correct place. Sometimes the tricks work after figuring out what was happening here. And Dizek, you are right. -1 and 0 are the only return options. That was a good call out. So let's move this entity assignment down into the function, and so it's going to be plus I. GCC normally or can recognize this and change it to a basically iterator. What did I do? 9, line 9. Oh, duh. There's my comma. Oh, sometimes it's good to be good. So, yeah, this was the right move to do this assignment early. Unfortunately, because other stuff was not correct, GCC wasn't generating the code we needed. So sometimes we need to try tricks a couple times to get them to work, and that's okay. So there are some register issues. So this, yeah, we need to flip these around and change that to a, come on. I can keyboard. I do it every once in a while. Less than equals are not common. Did I do that the wrong way? Come on. I really wanted that to work. That fixes the register issues. There we go. Less than equals. All right, that's it. We fixed it. No, we didn't. Those are still wrong. Those are still wrong. Wrong order. There we go. Right order. That's done. So we're not relying on any globals except for G entities. We have a symbol for G entities already, and if we include the stage header, we have a declaration for G entities as well. Last I checked, we were building, but that can change. Our function was 801b8. That's too small, OE8. Yes, yeah, we need to rename a bunch of that stuff. Those names are garbage, and need to be fixed. So just a random function in the middle of this. Let's look a little bit at what this does. I do think it's basically it's counting entities that are in the same room as the previous entity. The previous entity, I'm assuming is Richter, but is that, let's go over here. We have a particular index that's used for bosses. And let's see if I can find it. Sage entity start is 64, which is way before, so that's hex 40. So we're at 96. So we're looking at entity 95 to start out with. So we need more information, I guess. There's only one room, so possibly checking the room index is maybe make sure that this was initialized check, so that we don't look at things that maybe didn't exist here. I don't know about that. There's only one room in a boss fight. Yeah, let's rename these. So this is our oops. Looking at low for POSX is not common. Usually we look for high. Low is the fractional part of the position. So that's a little strange. Roaming, yes. So yeah, we are checking basically starting at entity 95, going through entity 127, but always looking at the one before. So there must be something special about the entity at index 95. And so we're making sure that it's in the right room. So this is our we're looking for basically at least one entity existing within our like fractional position. We'll just call that N. RA2 is yeah, and thank you. Min count is a great name for that. Oh, yeah, min is a built-in, so we don't want to call it min. var2 is our this is weird. So var2 is just incremented. So min count, basically, min count has to be 1. Otherwise, this function will always return -1. Does that seem right? So it seems like it's checking for two different things. We can... Oh, thank you. I blame OBS. Nope. Of course I blame OBS. That was completely my fault. I did not hit the button to switch the screens. So yeah, looking through this, var2 is only incremented if the position matches the parameter. But then it's checked against min count, and if min count is ever greater than 1, this will always fail. Am I reading that right? I'm going to rename n count. We'll call it room index count. It's possible that these are assigned outside of this, so I'm going to try moving them up and see if it still works. A ternary would be nice down here. No, it doesn't work. I'm going to keep that, move these back. All right, so that's nicer. We have nice names. Yes, sorry. Max count is much better. But it's still, if it can be 0 or 1. it's possible that this is not a less than equals. It's possible that this is just a comparison against 1. And GCC knows that this position count arithmetic would result in that condition. And so it's using that because it's already loaded 1 in that register. In the case where this is true, it might be an optimization. So what would this be then? But then max count, maybe it's just odd logic. I don't know. I'm not going to mess with it. We can, what did I do? We can, I hope I saved. When we get further along, we can look at the GCC, the ESP version. Do that. All right, so I'm going to take that over, throw it in our file, build again. Ooh, and we're not. So a couple issues. By default, GCC doesn't know what U32, S32, etc. are. It doesn't know what G entities is. So we need to create a B06 header. And I'm going to grab the B04 for the preamble. Grab all of this. So we do things when we have duplicate functions that are not the same implementation in different overlays. They have this, sorry, when we have functions with the same name in different overlays that have different implementations, we do this OVL export macro. We wrap the name in that, and it prepends it with whatever the stage is. And so then we can share implementations, and they're unique. And again, that's for the portable builds that we do, making sure that so Xbox 360, for example, everything is built together in one binary. And so we want to be able to one day do something similar. Put the end of our include guard and make this B06. And then over here, so stage is already going to include common among other things. So we're going to include B06.h here, and this should work. And by should work, I mean should fail miserably. So let's try to figure it out. If it's, unfortunately, if there's a couple things that might be happening. There might be splits in here, and now this is screwing up the alignment. That's, is it easy to solve? May or may not be easy to solve. Pragma once technically is not portable. And if you read the CPP docs in GCC, they recommend against it. The include guard format that the if not def define, I don't know why. Pragma once import all those. I like those, but the GNU folks don't like them. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. The question was, or the comment was, not a fan of Pragma once. Pragma once is a preprocessor directive. Instead of doing all this if-def stuff, you just do that, and then make sure that if you include this file more than once, there's actually nothing really in these files that would be a big deal. There's a I guess the biggest thing is a enum. We have tons of enum declarations, actually. That would be the issue. It would be just a bunch of warnings. You'd get the same enums each time. It's a bigger deal if you're including something that is going to actually allocate some space. So static variables or any kind of global, really. Not an issue here. But yeah, Pragma once is nice because it cleans that up, but like I said, GCC does not recommend it. So I'm really, really hoping that, so I have a tool called diff boss. It's going to give me a diff. I'm hoping, oh, I have an idea. I'm hoping that this is the case, that the entity isn't 1 minus hex 6096. We'll see. If it's that, then all we're going to see is a different address and a very short diff. If it's a gigantic diff, then it could be one of half a dozen different problems. And this is exactly what I wanted to see. This is pretty perfect, and not that big of a deal at all. I would like to see what line this is, but it is a constant issue, and those are the nicest to solve. So we're looking at B06, non-matchings, US 39, and then our function was EAOE8. So I want this line. So shift right by 16. So here is, this is the instruction in byte order. PlayStation is a little endian processor, so the opcode is in here. Somewhere 00 is math opcode, and then there's a subcode somewhere in here. Not terribly important. 16 exists somewhere in here as well. Let's go back over here and see what I might have missed. Actually, let's do this. I'm probably going to throw this into a MIPS decoder and figure out what is being generated here. So the green is what we want. The red is what we got. It's not actually at 3A100. It is 2 instructions later is our difference. So I was looking at the wrong line, and it is our where we're loading. And that can't be, unfortunately, that can't be solved with decomp.me, because decomp.me doesn't know the addresses of these. It just knows that they're symbols that exist or don't exist, and what the symbol was of the assembly that you loaded. So we need to figure out how far away are we. So we're loading 16 bits. Ours is loading, fortunately we can just look at these last 16 bits, I think. 7B08 is what we're loading, and we need to be loading 7A58. That's B0. Not good. So what, I'm going to change this to a -1. Change this entity to just the entity. And then change both of these to +1s. And I should do this in decomp.me, because this would make a difference in decomp.me. Yeah, and now, because of that, this likely is not going to be a nice diff. Oh, it is, actually. What do you know? So I was wrong. And my guess is what is actually wrong is not... That could be wrong. Let's try going to I high here. Low was weird. Still wrong. Okay, so we need to take this back and figure out what went wrong. I'm going to revert that. Revert all of it. And this happens from time to time. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to start at 61. Let's see if that works. Nope. And that doesn't actually look like the issue. Oh, no, that is 7B14. So we're looking at the wrong field. So it's not the entity room index. It's 8 plus 4, 12 bytes away. So I just grabbed the wrong field. So not too bad. Include that may affect the other ones as well, the other offsets. Game.h. So 12 bytes, which direction? More. So plus C, that's going to get us to E. Hit points? Hit points. Let's change these. Let's see if we can get this. Nope, I still want -1 here. I want this to be 61. Nope, that is not the right one. This was giving us the right offset. These might be later as well, though. So 12 bytes later is hitbox offset. So if it is hit points, that might make sense. So we were at low. Yes, hitbox off. Sorry, 12 bytes, no, velocity Y. So now everything is shifted over. I think where it should be. But those are still wrong. All right. So what is... I didn't think about this. So when I was originally calculating what is this offset, I assumed that it was aligned with a entity, but it's possibly not. GCC will do that as well. It will load things that are not aligned with the struct boundary, but something that it finds optimal. So let me calculate that again. We're looking for G entities. And so I 60 times BC plus the start address is 5.8. So yeah, we're 50 bytes too far. So we need to subtract 50 bytes. 50 hex. That gets us to 6C. 6C is opacity. This is getting a little spicy. 12 bytes later. Is unknown 78. I think all this is wrong. I'm not convinced about any of this. And our offsets are wrong. So there's something else going on here. Unfortunately, it's a bad place to end. Is it animation? It could be. So originally I had this +1 here. Let's look at what offset we're getting here. That could actually help as well. So G entities starts at 733D8. We get the offset from that symbol here, which is helpful. 473C. That gets us to B14, 77B14. Okay, that's actually only 6 bytes. No, not 6. 4 plus, that's what I calculated before. 4 plus 8, 12 bytes difference. So everything is shifted by 12 bytes one way or the other. We're too far. So this may be going into the entity extension. We could try that. So then, would we have the +1? No, I don't think we would. We'll use the illegal entity extension. This was 16 bits originally, so we'll use signed 16. We have to go pretty far. How many signed 16s do we get? So we have this placeholder entity extension. We get up to 1E. And my guess is that this is something else in the entity extension. So all these names are wrong. Boo. But what do you do? So signed 16. Sorry, capture broke. 1 second. There we go. You didn't miss anything. We'll start at 16. And try to figure out where this is I. So now we do have the +1. +1. So yeah, it looks like it is in the entity extension. Not too big of an issue. Let's try 10. 8. 7. But we're negative. We're negative still. And so we're not in the entity extension. But our offset is wrong. Yeah, probably. Yep, screen freeze. Thank you. Our offset's going to continue to be wrong as long as these are wrong. So let's take these into the entity extension as well. These were a ways away, but I don't have much space to work with. So we're going to try that. All right, so we have a +84 here. And we need a +0. We need this to be something way at the beginning. All right, I'm going to start from first principles. We're going to start with this this address. Subtract. So what we need to calculate is G entities plus 447, come on, 30. If this was an unsigned 8 point. 4730. By the way, BC is hex 60, but 4760 times BC is 4608. So how far do we need to get into an entity to get the right address? 4730 minus 46B0 is B0. B0 is towards the end of the entity. Okay. So this load seems correct. But these are not. Because these are being loaded right from whatever this offset was, which is B0. So this actually isn't quite correct. These are the ones that are at this entity extension. How about I don't delete what I need? I think this is going to end on a cliffhanger. So now these are 8 AOA. We need to go further. EC minus 8A is 32 divided by 6. Nope. 32 divided by 2 is 19. Do we have 19 of these? We do. But not if this is 7. So then, what else is near the end of entity? If it's animation related, it could be animation current frame. So let's figure that out though. So 7C plus 14 decimal is 8A. Oh, is this the same field? No, it's definitely not the same field. Let's see what happens if we do anim per frame. We still end up way, way off on these. And the issue is this is unaligned. Did I figure out where the unalignment was? So we're at G entities. Plus that gets us 7A5. And so our pointer minus that is B0. Oh, we figured that out already. So it's like we're getting a pointer directly to this field. And then, so that's going to be a sine 16 pointer instead of an entity pointer, which you don't really want. So what I'm going to do here is really gross. I'm going to dereference a sine 16 pointer, which is really that entity. Now we have to do the same thing down here. This seems too odd for me, even for this code. That gets us a E. Let's move that back. Okay, so we're at the start of the entity extension here. We're getting somewhere. We actually are getting somewhere. And if we do that same thing here, that's -40. So we're need to go back further. So the start of the entity extension is 7c minus 4a is 32 less than 7c minus 32 is offset 4a, unknown 4a. Let's see. Can't hurt. It can, but nope, not far enough. Bad math. Should have stuck with the 3c hit flags hitbox. What are we loading? A half. Closest half. Next half is hit params. Not far enough. Hit points. Hey, I said hit points at one point. Not far enough. Enemy ID. No, we need way further back. Let's try draw mode. Sorry. Too far. Step? If it's step, that's gonna be disappointing. Not step. Unknown 38. I'd take unknown 38. Not far enough. Entity. Oh my goodness, we're back at entity room index. What is going on? I have no idea what's going on here. All right. Full circle. Still at entity room index. Is this going to work? I don't think so. Oh, yeah, we're totally unaligned. So entity room index makes sense because we're in like no man's land of everything. So I put that in there. No. What was it before? We're still at, am I, oh my goodness. If I'm messing with the wrong field, I'm gonna be mad. 7B08, and I need 7AD4. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I spent all this time, and I think it's just a +1. Oh, I want all that stuff. I want all that stuff. I want all that stuff, but I don't want this stuff. All that work for a +1. I really don't like that. Oh, is this a word? Is it loading? No, it's loading half. It was Y. Yeah, no, X. X is good. Let's try it again. This happens, and it's frustrating. Sometimes you throw your hands up and say, I have no idea. That got me to the same 7B14. Oh no, now I'm 6 bytes off. How bizarre. That's at 3A108. All right, so, oh, I still have animation current frame, 6 bytes off. Six bytes smaller. Yeah, 6 bytes smaller. Pose. Let's try pose. That offset didn't change. It should have changed quite a bit. Physics saying now check the difference between entities. That might have been late. Yeah, so I do think it's the +1, but where's the... How do I check a... How do I check a field? Not build? And my value doesn't change. That doesn't make sense. There should be more changing here than just that. So I'm missing something else. Oh, that's interesting. Changing it to -2, because this constant isn't actually there, it gets optimized out into the comparison, negating the comparison. When you change it to -2, it has to do a lot more work. We could try changing this 76 to... This might be the same thing. When you do something to add or remove instructions, the tool that I have does not is not happy. There's other tools, vbin diff and things like that. Oh, the screen doesn't match the words, of course. I mentioned this last week when this was happening. If I get notifications, I know that OBS is no longer capturing, and I have been getting notifications. I've been going on way too long, so I'm going to leave it on a cliffhanger. What is the cause of... Oh my goodness. The mystery. I was totally not paying attention to the field exactly, or the instruction that's exactly next. And that may have provided a hint. I should write better tools. I'm still not sure why there isn't more of a difference here. But I have to go. I'm way over time anyway. So we'll see tomorrow. Come see the exciting conclusion to random Richter fight function that tries to count things. And maybe we'll look at the function that that calls that next, as long as it's not one of the behemoths. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. If you want to know more about the Soten Symphony of the Night decompilation project, go to soten.z.dev. Our GitHub is there. I'm just a contributor who likes to decompile live. Is that a thing? That's what I do. Adios. See you tomorrow.